What's going on, people? It's your boy Kelechi back with another episode of the Ramblin' Mind Podcast in the year 2024. We made it, guys. We made it to another new year. Bruh, I just gotta say thank you, Lord, because it ain't by our strength that we made it into this new year. But how are you guys doing? I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are staying safe. I hope y'all are doing all the things you know you ought to do during these times, my friends. Man, 2023 is gone and 2024 is here. It is a joy to be able to enter this year with each and every single one of you. And it's a joy to be back on the ones and twos, sharing a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of words, a little bit of things with y'all, as we love to do here on the Ramblin' Mind Podcast. But as this is a new year, I wanted us to start off things with the right mindset. There's something I've been thinking about, and I heard it first when I was listening to a Ramit Sethi podcast, and he asked a question that I thought was just so important. He asked a question on the podcast to a couple on there, and he said, "What do you get?" He was talking to them about their finances, and he asked a poignant question. He said, "What do you get?" On the surface, that question doesn't seem like it's asking a whole lot. But as you dig into it, it reminded me of another story that I've shared previously on the podcast that I believe will enlighten each and every single one of us of why that question is so important. The story is the story about the Mexican fisherman. The story goes like this. An American investment banker was taking a much-needed vacation in a small coastal Mexican village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. The boat had several large fresh fish in it. The investment banker was impressed by the quality of the fish and asked the Mexican how long it took to catch them. The Mexican replied, "Only a little while." The banker then asked, "Why didn't you stay out longer and catch more fish?" The Mexican fisherman replied, he had enough to support his family's immediate needs. The American then asked, "But what do you do with the rest of your time?" The Mexican fisherman replied, "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take siesta with my wife, stroll into the village each evening where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos. I have a full and busy life." The investment banker scoffed. "I am an Ivy League MBA. I could help you. You could spend more time fishing and with the proceeds buy a bigger boat. And with the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could buy several boats until eventually you would have a whole fleet of fishing boats. Instead of selling your catch to the middleman, you could sell directly to the processor, eventually opening your own cannery. You could control the product, processing, and distribution." Then he added, "Of course, you would need to leave this small coastal fishing village and move to Mexico City, where you would run your growing enterprise." The Mexican fisherman asked, "But senor, how long will all this take?" The American replied, 15 to 20 years. The Mexican asked him, "But what then?" The American laughed and said, "That's the best part. When the time is right, you will announce an IPO and sell your company stock to the public and become very rich. You could make millions." "Millions, senor?" the Mexican replied. "Then what?" To which the investment banker replied, "Then you would retire. You could move to a small coastal fishing village where you could sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take siesta with your wife, stroll to the village in the evenings where you could sip wine and play your guitar with your amigos." It is so easy for us to get caught up in the daily, weekly, monthly grind. We get caught up with the day in, day out stressors that life throws at us, and we end up in this mundane, it's fine lifestyle, where we just go with the default options that are presented to us. We finish from high school, we go to college, we get a decent job, we buy a house, we get married, we get our promotion at work, we get kids, we get a dog, we get more dogs, we buy a bigger house, we have more kids, we go from being promoted at work to starting our own business, and we go on and on and on, just going with whatever is presented to us at life. We're living life on default. And then one day we wake up and we have all of these things. We live in a nice house. We have awesome children. We drive nice cars. Our neighborhood is wonderful. We have all of these things. And we wake up one day and we are depressed. We wake up one day and we're like, what is the point? We wake up one day feeling unfulfilled and feeling worthless. We wake up one day and we say to ourselves, like Solomon said, meaningless, meaningless, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. We start asking ourselves, what is the point of living? What is the point of life? What is the point of everything that we do it day in and day out? We are utterly depressed and removed. All of this because we didn't ask a simple question for ourselves. What do I get? Because we didn't ask a simple question for all the decisions that we were making. The chase for more and more and more. We never sat down to take a second and say, is this actually what I want? What is the benefit of making more money? Is it actually leading me to the life of fulfillment that I want? Or is it actually removing me from the life of fulfillment that I want? The story of the Mexican, if he didn't ask, what then? What then? What then? If he had just said, oh man, that sounds amazing. Let me get started on that. All of a sudden, the joys of life that he had, he would have given it up to chase after something that he never truly wanted. And I think for a lot of us, we just play by default. We live life by default. We've been told that when we get that thing, that's when we'll be happy. When we get married, that's when we'll be happy. When we get that job, that's when we'll be happy. When we get that promotion, that's when we'll be happy. When we get that raise, that's when we'll be happy. When we do X, that's when we'll be happy. That's when we'll have fulfillment. That's when we'll have joy. Except we get that thing, but it still feels empty. And so we pursue the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then one day you wake up and you're like, what is the point of all of this? Because we never simply asked a simple question. What do I get? If you're in a relationship with somebody, you got to ask yourselves, each other, you got to say, what do we get? What do we get by increasing our income and chasing after that business opportunity? What do we get by continually trying to find new ways to increase our income? What do we get by always trying to find ways to make more and make more and make more, or buy more and buy more and buy more? What do we get by going to all of these locations? What do we get? What do we get? Because what this forces us to do is to dig deeper. Is to ask the question of not just what is the cost on the front end of like, oh man, we got to start this business. It's going to cost us time. It's going to cost us effort. But what else is it going to cost you? Is it going to cost you the lifestyle of being able to pick up your kids? Is it going to cost you the life of being able to spend time with your children as you've always wanted to do? Is it going to cost you the lifestyle of spending time with friends, of serving in your church, of volunteering? What do you get? Because a lot of the time we think that if we just do more, if we just acquire more, that then things get better. But that is hardly ever the case. And so as we enter 2024, as we begin the daily grind and the striving for more and doing better and moving forward and doing all of these things, ask yourself a simple question. What do I get? With your wife and your partner or your husband, whoever it is, your kids, your family, ask yourself the simple question. What do we get? What do we get? Because when we don't ask that question, we end up in a place where, as Solomon said, we look this way, we look that way, and we say to ourselves, meaningless. Everything is utterly meaningless. So, this new year, don't just do things just to do them. Make sure it's worth it. Is the sacrifice worth it? Is the energy worth it? Is the price you have to pay worth it? What do you get? And here's the interesting thing. When you begin asking this question and you begin coming to answers for yourself, your life is going to look weird to most people. There are going to be aspects of your life that make no sense to most people. There's going to be some things that you choose to do that don't make any sense to most people. Why? Because you're no longer living just for everybody else. You're now living for you. And it's okay that they don't understand. They can catch up later, but you have to start living right now. So as you're going throughout this year, please, I beg of you, ask yourself this question. What do I get? And for all my Christians out there, ask yourself another question. What does he want from me? What is he saying about me? And he being God. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this is insightful. I hope y'all learned one, maybe two things out of this. The next podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about the 3 different platforms that I used or changed from Mint to try new platforms. And the one that I selected, spoiler alert, I selected Monarch Money. And I'll talk about why I selected that one in that next podcast. But for right now, again, please ask yourself this question throughout this year, 2024. What do I get? But I'm going to catch you up in the next one. Remember, generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all. And I'm out. Peace. Whoosh.